This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, so some new stuff happened this week, Avram, and I think you might have some stuff to show.
We are at, so normally at this time of year, when you're talking about like right, a week before Christmas, you don't normally see new products coming out. You don't normally see a whole big release, but we did. Intel released its new Intel Core Ultra CPUs for laptops, which are otherwise known as Meteor Lake. They are not branded as Core i5 and Core i7. They are Core Ultra 5 and Core Ultra 7. It seems that at some points, I think they're still going to at some point have some chips that are Core i something, but they're trying to get rid of the i branding. Anyway, what's special about these Meteor Lake chips, and we have now already seen the announcement of, I think, 4 or 5 laptops from 4 or 5 different companies that have the chips in them, is that they have they're the first mainstream chips, Intel chips anyway, that have a neural processing unit in them. So there's the regular cores, and in the Intel world, they have 2 kinds of cores, right? They have performance cores and efficiency cores, and they've had that for like the last couple of generations now. And now there's the integrated GPU, and then now there is an NPU whose purpose is to do AI processing, to do it more power efficiently and faster than the regular processor can do it. And on laptops where normally they would just take a really long time to do something, now they might be able to do it in a competent amount of time locally. And what I mean to do something, I mean to do local generative AI, or other forms of AI. As we know, a lot of AI right now takes place in the cloud. You want to have an image generated, you go to a site like Stable Diffusion and you use their services. You want to have a chat, you go to ChatGPT and you use their services. And it's all taking place in the cloud. But there's a lot of drawbacks to the cloud. Besides the fact that you need an internet connection, a lot of these things use up a lot of processing power. So if they're not charging for them currently, they will be charging for them. Obviously, there's some really serious privacy issues with anything that you're helping to train their bots every time you use them, and they could have information about you. So obviously, if you want to use AI to do anything from generating an image to transcribing an audio recording to making some music for you, it would be better if we could do those things locally. Well, that is what the NPU is for, because otherwise, to do things locally, you need a pretty powerful graphics card, which a lot of people don't have on their desktop, let alone on their laptop. And all of these are laptop chips. So I wanted to show some of the local things that you can already do. Now, let's be clear. You don't need one of the new laptops to do them. You can actually do them on any computer. It's just that the new laptops have the NPU, which provides somewhat better performance. In fact, let's see how much. So I have one of these laptops I'm connected to over TeamViewer, and hopefully we don't get cut off from my connection while I'm sharing my screen. But I've had this because this laptop is not in my house. It's in one of my coworkers' homes, and I don't even know if he's around right now. He's just left it for me to do. So what we have here is we have GIMP, which is a popular image editor that many people are familiar with. And there is a Stable Diffusion, which we know is an image generator plugin for it. So I'm going to now this runs on any computer, right? You don't need the NPU, and it runs decently on without the NPU. In fact, here we are. We're going to have it create a square image for us, and I'm going to have it use the CPU, not the NPU, for this. I'm giving it a very simple instruction: cat driving a car. I'm going to hit generate. You'll see it's going to take about a minute, maybe 50 something seconds to do that, to generate this image. I don't love this model, the Square in 8, because it makes everything look like a painting. But the photographic models don't give you the option of using the NPU. So I'm going to do this with the CPU, and then I'm going to go do it with the NPU so you can see the difference in time. The difference in quality, there's not going to be one. It's just going to, it's going to be the same level of quality, but you're going to have it happen faster. So you see it's almost done. This isn't that bad, right? I mean, this is using the CPU, and older CPUs aren't that much slower than this when you're using the CPU. They might be about the same, like a 13th gen Intel. The prior gen was about the same speed. So there's our cat on a car. And how long did it take us? Well, we can see here it took 59 seconds. If you add the decoder part, it's another 5 seconds or whatever, but it took 59 seconds to do the processing. Now, if we go again, there's a bunch of different plugins here, by the way. There's style transfer, super resolution, which upscales things, and semantic segmentation, which just does some kind of color changing thing. But to be honest, the other ones don't take more than a second, and they don't really time it. So the Stable Diffusion is the good test. So you see here, we can go here and we can change 2 of these settings to NPU. When we do that, we have to reload the model, which takes a few seconds. And then we can do this again, and you'll see that it's going to take significantly less time. Also, while we're doing that, let's have a quick look at our task manager and see what's going on. So you see here in our performance manager, the CPU is only being taxed at like 10%, which is not much, but there's an NPU here, and it's going at 100%. So this is more power efficient. If you were doing it on battery, you would care. This allows better multitasking because your CPU cores are not being taxed here and your GPU is not being taxed. It's the NPU that's made for this stuff. So while I was talking, it finished, right? Again, I don't love these kind of picture style. I more prefer, this is what it looks like if you can do it, if you do the photographic version model, but the photographic model for some reason isn't available with the option to use the NPU. So I'm just showing these to demonstrate the performance, not because it looks fantastic. But anyway, you can see this one took 31 seconds. So we had an improvement. It was nearly double the speed by using the NPU. So, and without taxing the rest of the computer. So that's what the NPU is doing. Another example of something that you can do locally, and again, you could do this today, is Audacity. So Audacity, for those who don't know, is a free audio editor, and there are several different plugins that these all come from Intel's OpenVino project. So first of all, there is a music generator. So if I do OpenVino music generation, this I can also assign to the NPU or to the GPU. I'm going to say that I want 30 seconds of jazz. For some reason, the interpolation steps work much better if it's 6 than the default, which was 10. And I'll make this go, and it'll take, never mind this calculation, it'll take about 3 minutes, right? So that, so while that's going, you can see that there's other things. I got another window here. There's other things that you can do with your audio if you, for example, import audio. Right, you can use whisper transcription. Oh, you have to select. Sorry, you can use whisper transcription. Now, this window over here is actually on my local computer, so you can see NPU is not an option, but it's still going to work fine. GPU is not going to actually use the GPU because anything that is made by Intel with OpenVINO is only compatible with Intel GPUs. So unless you have an Intel Arc GPU, it's not going. The GPU is just going to use. If you choose GPU, you're just going to get CPU. But anyway, even so, it's only going to take about 50 seconds. It's only going to take about 50 seconds, and then we're going to get our transcription. Meanwhile, the music.
How long is the audio you're
Is
transcribing?
23 minutes.
Perfect.
23 minutes. But I want to point out, I have not figured out how in this tool to make it use a better model. This is using the Whisper. So for those who don't know, Whisper is OpenAI, the same people behind ChatGPT make Whisper. And wait, what happened? Did it give me? Oh, right. Oh, this is. I'm sorry. I went one thing and the other. All right. So this is my jazz playback, which unfortunately is on a rote machine. I don't think we can actually hear the audio. But if you look at how long it took to generate, this is 30 seconds. So the music was 30 seconds of audio, right? And that took 102 seconds to process with the NPU. It takes about 30 seconds more without the NPU. Now, this other thing that I'm doing here with the audio, with the transcription, that is 23 minutes of an interview that one of my coworkers did, and we can go to the log and see how long that took us. And the log says 60.9 seconds to do 23 minutes of audio into text. But I should caution that this uses the base model of the base model of Whisper. You see it says base. I have to figure out how to actually make this do like the large model, because the quality of the transcription is better if it's a large model, and that will take longer. But you can see this was on my desktop, and it did 60 seconds. What it does on the NPU is about 50 seconds on the laptop. So you can see that you get you get a lot of there you go. So you get a lot of performance out of having the NPU. It allows you to do all kinds of stuff. Another thing that you can do with it, for example, is if you have noisy audio. This still takes like 10 minutes even with the NPU, but you can select the audio. This is, again, the same 23-minute clip had a big, noisy background. You can do a noise suppression that works really well. You can tell it to remix the style of the audio, or even to separate into different tracks. So those are all things that you can do and it's all taking place locally after you've downloaded the models the first time. It doesn't require the internet. It doesn't ping the cloud. So these, again, these tasks are still, they're optimized for Intel. So if you did, if you want to run them on your GPU, you have to find a different plugin or a different app to do it. There's a lot of how can I put this? A lot of there's the standards aren't quite there in terms of which hardware is supported for these things. So the Intel stuff will work with AMD and it will work, but it just won't it's not optimized. Although ironically, we tried these same workloads on some AMD laptops that have their own AI processor, and they did really, really well. On things, it doesn't allow you to select the NPU on them because it doesn't recognize an NPU because it's not called an NPU on AMD or whatever. It doesn't recognize an AI processor on them, but it actually outperformed the AMD chips. Actually, outperformed the Meteor Lake chips when both were just set to CPU. So, pretty decent performance. But I think the idea is you'd be doing more local AI. Now, obviously, I have mixed feelings about people using generative AI to do things. These are just a couple of examples of things you could do with generative AI. One of the things that we were told is a big deal by, I think Intel is pushing this, and Lenovo, who we met with, are pushing it. Or I don't know if they're pushing it, but mention it, is Rewind AI, which is like an episode of Black Mirror. Have you heard of Rewind AI, Scott?
So I've heard the name. I just don't remember what it is. It does sound Black Mirror-y just from its name, though.
Okay, so Rewind right now you can get it for iOS, but they are making it for Windows, and they are also making a pendant you can wear. So what it does is it screen grabs everything that you do all day long, and then and logs it, and then you can ask it questions based on your day, based on what you've done, and it will answer you, or it will also put things on a to-do list or whatever. So it is watching you at all times. And to make it even worse, they want to come out with they claim that they're coming out with a pendant like that you wear around your neck that's always recording and feeding via I guess it's feeding via Bluetooth to your phone. And so, like, if somebody says to you, like, "Oh, hey, honey, can you pick up the kids at 3 p.m.?" It'll decide to put that on your calendar or whatever, or it'll remember everything that was said in your vicinity. It is a privacy nightmare, in my opinion. But
it's fascinating.
But
we're
yeah.
literally gonna talk about something similar later.
Oh, yes, right. So you've got no privacy in this world, but how many people are kind of walking into, like, deliberately asking, please let me and everyone around me have no privacy? But
yeah,
to not get distracted
just a
from
conspiracy theory.
Yes, now you're part of the conspiracy. Also, don't you remember when all the people were being like the glass hole stuff, where people were very upset about, oh, hey, I'm really worried that people who are wearing Google Glass are going to record me and I'm going to have no privacy. Meanwhile, Google Glass has a light on it. It's very low. It was a very low resolution. Like,
fast food restaurants banned them in the restaurant and in the drive-thru.
I mean, I'm not saying it was a good thing, but I'm just saying, like, now we're asking to have granted, they haven't come out with their pendant yet, so who knows how that's going to go over. But the idea is that at the very least, it will read your entire computer screen. So everything that you do, every chat, whatever, it'll be watching you.
Yeah.
And
no way that could possibly be a problem for, someone like us that gets embargoed content and
right. I mean
terrible.
Allegedly the fact that you're going to use your NPU to do all this processing is going to be really good for keeping it private, I guess, because then maybe the data can't leave your device. On the other hand, my understanding about Rewind is that it's supposed to also synchronize across your devices. So how can that happen if it's staying on your device? Like, I don't know. We haven't, that stuff is in some beta that is apparently not available to the public yet. So I cannot say for sure how bad it's going to be, but it sounds extremely creepy. But if we take the creep out of it and we just stick to the technology for a second, the having it basically look at everything on your screen and not read it as like text, but apparently read it like OCR, almost like pixel by pixel, what is coming onto your screen, and then use that to learn about you, and I guess help you, requires a fair amount of processing power. So having an NPU to offload that on, I guess, would be helpful with that kind of workload.
I am currently reading their privacy policy. Uh, it was there was an FAQ at the bottom of the page. It was like, what about my privacy? Your privacy is very important to me. Click here for more information. Like, okay, I will.
Yeah. The guy who runs Rewind was on stage with Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger back in Intel Innovation in September, and kind of hinted at this, and was like sort of hinting that maybe both he and Gelsinger wear hearing aids, was kind of hinting at maybe the hearing aid would be able to record things. Yeah, I mean that's kind of,
if it's a Bluetooth connected hearing aid, of course it could.
Yeah, right. I guess the point isn't that you need special hardware, right? Anything can record, and I think we'll get to that in a minute, right? So who knows? I guess I'm just saying it is a little bit on the messed upside.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this is going to work, but real quick, I'm going to see what happens if I attempt to play the jazz. Can you hear that?
No.
No. I think it's coming out of, instead of coming out of we want it to come to loop back, right? To come out of the
that's always a challenge.
Recording device, playback device. Can I do that? All right, never mind. I was going to play you the exciting Casio Music Maker song that we made.
Well, if you save the file and send it over to me, I can play it in the final version of the episode.
Okay. We'll do that. I will save it. Believe me, folks, you're not really missing anything, because it sounds like it sounds like one of the buttons on, like, I don't know if you as a kid had a Casio Music Maker. My daughter has one now. I mean, it's not really technically Casio, but you know what I mean. And they had the little like beats that you could get it to play by hitting the button at the top. That's what it sounds like.
I've got one in the room here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but there's one somewhere in this room.
So it doesn't sound good. I'm not saying it sounds good by any stretch of the imagination. But
so it's not going to be new theme music. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you know what though? What I didn't do, okay, is I did a very simple thing that was 30 seconds, and I only had 6 steps. If you have more steps, I think you can do more with the sound. I mean,
gotcha.
What I did was using Stable Audio, which is Stable Diffusion's. Here, I actually sent this to you on Facebook, so you can play it whenever you want, all 30-second loop of this. But Um, anyway, yeah, the it's not great, but at the same time, I could see somebody using it if they made a slightly better loop for a video for online video, because it can be expensive to license uh, music loops, and
Yeah.
so but that's the difference between generative AI, which is usually stealing something. Although this kind of generative AI, I have to say, no one accuse of stealing, because it's so bad. No one would take credit for the original. Um,
Except maybe Casio.
yes, Casio could come. I mean, it probably sounds like something. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, so I guess what I'm saying is new laptops have come out and are more coming out with Intel's chip. With Intel's new Meteor Lake Core Ultra chips. What that heralds is the beginning of having neural processing units directly in your CPU, which is good for doing this type of AI processing locally. Which, if you're going to do AI processing, doing it locally makes a lot of sense. Although there's an interesting question about how many people really want these features and how much they're going to need to do some of them locally. Like, yes, we want our privacy, but at the same time, I don't know if people care about privacy of their ridiculous audio loop. Um, yes, people want their privacy for ChatGPT, which you can't run locally. But do you need your privacy to like use AI to blur the background on your videos? I mean, that is already, most chat software and streaming software already has that built in. You don't necessarily need an NPU to handle that, but nevertheless, it will help you with that. So, um, I guess we'll see, but I think it's kind of groundbreaking and a landmark that you're seeing kind of a new part of the processor debuting that is dedicated to AI processing.
Yeah. For sure. I'm gonna try something. I don't know if this is gonna work. Yes, it's pretty Casio-y, isn't
Yeah, that's my that's my that's the 30 seconds that we music that we made. You could see that you could kind of loop it, right?
Yeah.
You could sort of loop it, and then you'd have. I mean, I I don't love that one. I will say the one thing about the music prompt, which we didn't talk about,
Yeah.
is that it is not really doesn't seem to be aware of artists. So when you ask it like,
Hmm.
"Oh, hey, give me something that sounds like AC/DC," it doesn't know what that is. If you,
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't say it doesn't know. It just doesn't give you something
In that
that's
style.
that's correct. Or like songs, right? So like I asked it for a song that sounded like Ghostbusters, and it had a song that sounded like a bunch of ghosts. Or
Okay.
I asked it for Taylor Swift, and it just had like a high pitched like static or something. So it it knows genres, so you can say
It,
like
it could have been social
jazz,
commentary.
rock. Yeah, I tried a bunch of different things. It ja- jazz, rock, whatever you can put. And if you put the
Okay.
name of the person and jazz or rock, it just gives you jazz or rock. So like
Okay.
anyway, it's so I don't know whether this is deliberately not infringing on musicians or just the fact that it's not that great. But you can't say like, oh yeah, give me a song that sounds like Katy Perry's California Girls or something. Like it's not that smart.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, it could be because it's simple. It could be because they're trying to avoid getting in trouble. You're right. It could be either.
Yeah, and also remember that this is all happening locally. So how much did you have to download? How much of a size of a model did you have to download? Maybe a couple.
True.
I think it was maybe 2 gigabytes. So not huge. Not the whole corpus of music history there.
Yeah. True enough.
Not even the corpus of Casio, probably.
Yeah, probably not. Oh my goodness. I've got to find mine because now I want to compare them. Anyway, I imagine since you've got hardware, you guys have been writing about this or will be soon.
Yeah, so we're going to have a story up tomorrow or the next day. Yes. So we have some stories up about the new chips, about Meteor Lake on Tom's Hardware. But what I've been working on today actually is benchmarking. So so you can see you can see what's my article about that very soon, where you'll see how how it's what the performance difference is between this with an NPU, without an NPU, Intel versus AMD versus the last gen. You'll see, you'll get a flavor for how it performs. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at really is the performance.
Well, that for me, that's the most interesting part is the performance between them. Because obviously, the output again, very Casio-y, but the idea that there's this now dedicated hardware even locally that you can leverage for certain stuff. Pretty cool idea. I look forward to seeing how it all plays out. And of course, Avram, I appreciate the information and look forward to what we talk about next. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course hit the notification bell since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.